With the WINN FM News, I am Kevin Brown.
And I am Yolana Weeks.
Our top stories. ECCB Connects highlights 2025 ECCU Generative AI and Python Summer Camp. St. Kitts Nevis wins first place in both showcase competitions.
Premier Brantley dismisses talks of early election.
2 illegal firearms seized by police. Police charged to John Wilkin for 2 cannabis offenses. International observers want more independent Guyana Election Commission. Export St. Lucia defends $738,000 World Expo investment. Internationally detained Hyundai workers return home. Seoul warns of investment concerns in U.S. Now, the details. The 2025 ECCU Generative AI Python Summer Camp concluded with a regional showcase and closing ceremony where nearly 400 young participants across the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union ECCU presented chatbots and multimedia projects designed to solve real-world challenges in areas such as crime prevention, financial education, and heritage tourism. The ECCU Generative AI and Python Summer Camp ran from July through August and was in collaboration with the Republic of China Taiwan, equipped 13 to 18-year-olds with skills in Python programming, artificial intelligence, data analytics, and multimedia design. At the showcase, 21 chatbots and 7 multimedia projects were presented, focusing on providing real-world solutions to advance resilience-building areas such as crime prevention, financial education, and heritage tourism. Kendall Kodra, Permanent Secretary in the Department of Education in St. Lucia, shared the impact of the camp.
This camp has been about more than technology. It has been about empowering young minds to see themselves as innovators, as problem solvers, as the leaders of tomorrow. It has been about giving our students the confidence to say, I can shape technology to serve my community and my region. And more importantly, it has empowered them to become creators of technology, not just consumers. The projects being presented today will demonstrate the extraordinary potential of our youth and prove that with the right tools, creativity, and purpose, our young people can design solutions for financial literacy, community safety, cultural preservation, and much more.
A panel of judges headed by Minister of Infrastructure, Communications, Utilities, Housing, IT, and E-Government Services for Anguilla, the Honorable Jose Vanterpool, assessed the entries with the following results. The winners for the group chatbox showcase were: in first place, Tech Rats, St. Kitts and Nevis, See the Chains, Unlock Your Gains, who won EC $8,000.
Have you ever wondered what cryptocurrency really is? How it works? If you can invest it without feeling like you're decoding an alien language? 1 second. Hello? You there? Okay, you could come. Hey!
Yo, you know when I was coming here, the taximan asked me how I wanted to pay with cash, Jack Cash, or Bitcoin? I didn't think it was into cryptocurrency like that.
Yeah. The government even asked me to build a chatbot to help young persons learn about cryptocurrency. It's finally finished. Let me show you. In the sidebar, you can watch currency changes unfold in real time right in the chat. You'll see trends, market spikes, and dips visually, so you can actually understand what's happening. At the top right, you can switch between light or dark mode, whichever suits your style. And you can talk to Kryptonic audibly, so you don't have to type.
In second place, Quantum, Antigua and Barbuda, Let's Explore Together. Explore ANU, winning 5,000 EC dollars.
Antigua and Barbuda welcomes thousands of visitors every year. But what happens when a tourist runs into legal trouble? What happens when you want to learn a law or policy? This was the question that was asked, and this is how Quantum was born.
Welcome to Explore ANU, your island's smart legal AI assistant. Say goodbye to confusing and outdated advice. Explore ANU is here to change the game. Whether you're local or tourist, we're your go-to guide for understanding the laws and policies made in real time, made simple, clear, and totally accessible.
In third place, Tech Avengers of St. Kitts and Nevis, Ancestra and The Guardian, the dual sentinels of St. Kitts and Nevis. They won $3,000.
Hey, you good?
Hi.
You need help?
I do. I just landed in St. Kitts and I just want to know, where should I start? you pick the perfect place, and I have the perfect thing for you.
Okay.
Come, let's walk and talk.
Okay.
So, in St. Kitts, locals gathered together to make a multi-purpose AI.
Okay.
Meet Ancestral. See, Ancestral is your local friendly Kittitian guide, right?
Yes.
So she's here to help you with history, cuisine, food, traditions, all stuff like that. And with over 11 distinct tones, you could personalize your own experience.
Wow.
You the adventurous type?
Always, of course.
Well, if you're looking for adventure or a place to stay, try the Discovery Hub feature.
Okay.
But that's not it. Ancestral is not alone.
Really?
Meet the Guardian. See, the Guardian, unlike Ancestral, is your safety expert. It protects both locals and tourists alike.
The winners of the group multimedia showcase were, in first place, Vibe Tribe of St. Kitts and Nevis, The Magic of Sugar Mass, From Shackles to Sugar Band, Canefield to Collision. They won $8,000.
At the Immaculate Conception Catholic High School, 4 friends are about to turn an ordinary history class into pure carnival vibes.
Ready for carnival? Yeah, I practice splits up September. My costume come with glitter, LED lights, and a built-in fan. Well, Delaney, you got a whole circus on you.
What is carnival?
Cassidy, you're asking what is carnival? That's like asking where mango sweet or where woke up when you hear winning. So in fact, it's Kittitian history, powered by vibes. Okay, listen up. Back in the day, like real back, during slavery, Christmas was the only time enslaved people could kind of celebrate. But by 1971, the government stepped in and made Sugar Mass the national carnival of St. Kitts. From then, it grew every year, from steel pan and calypso to full-on Jube madness. Grand parade, soca monarch, you name it. And we call it Sugar Mass because the whole thing's sweet like cane juice. So yeah, it's not just a party, it's a whole revolution in glitter, feathers, and freedom.
So when I jump and walk up in the street, I'm honoring ancestor?
Yeah.
In second place, Owadadli Tech, Antigua and Barbuda, and Antiguan Childhood, winning EC $5,000.
But Dudley Tech welcomes you to an Antiguan childhood.
Morning, morning, Miss Gwen. Morning, Miss Marlene.
Sundays are the best when we done the shows and all we rush to play.
Ishan and them moving like they in sports designers. Girls double dutching like their life depend on it. And look, the donkey pussy rolling through like kings.
Ishan! You want the function selfish get cold?
Okay, I'm coming.
In third place, Mystic Wolves, Antigua and Barbuda, Grandma's Diary, A Journey Through Antigua's Past, winning $3,000.
Grandma's Diary, A Journey Through Antigua's Past, is a tale that talks about Amara, a young Antiguan girl who discovers a diary after her grandma's funeral.
Another diary page, Jane talked about the cold pot cookouts. Families cooked outside on cold pots, sharing food like dokana, saltfish, and of course, fungi and pepper pot, an Antigua and Barbuda national dish. There were sweet treats as well, to include slice-up, sugar cake, and fudge. It wasn't just about food, it was about coming together. So, Amara asked her family to help her host a cookout. Neighbors brought old recipes, and they all cooked and played games together as they recounted old-time sayings in memory of Jane. Thanks to her grandmother's diary, Amara learned about traditions almost forgotten. She danced with the masqueraders, sang Benna songs under the stars, and cooked with her community. And now, every year during Carnival, Amara makes sure her grandmother's traditions live on.
Minister Vanterpool encouraged the students to continue innovating and creating, as the next big technological breakthrough could come from the region.
Continue to build, continue to explore, because while persons know of ChatGPT, while persons know of the major AI platforms out there, the reality is the biggest AI solutions probably has not been created as yet. And there is no reason why those solutions cannot come from the Caribbean region, from persons, young persons such as yourself. In fact, there's no reason it couldn't come from any one of you.
His Excellency Edward Lingwen Tao, Ambassador of the Republic of China Taiwan to St. Kitts and Nevis, lauded the ECCB for the 2025 ECCU Generative AI and Python Summer Camp.
I would like to extend my compliments to the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, ECCB. Your vision and leadership in advancing digital literacy across the region is commendable. You have shown once again that investing in young people is the most powerful investment of all. My thanks also goes to the Ministry of Education and the Taiwan ICDF mission. The camp was made possible by the dedication of every single person involved, and it reflects Taiwan's commitment to innovation and capacity building in the Caribbean. I'm proud that my country can partner with ECCB to organize this meaningful program, helping the young people to obtain the skills for the future.
The ECCU Generative AI and Python Summer Camp is one of the ways the central bank continues to invest in the future of the region through its youth, developing skills, creativity, leadership, and innovation.
The Premier of Nevis, Mark Brantley, dismissed ongoing discussions surrounding the possibility of an early election, explaining that such talks are unfounded and serve only to create unnecessary political tension. Speaking on his September 10, 2025 edition of On the Mark, Brantley made it clear that the government remains focused on delivering its mandate and addressing issues of importance rather than being distracted by election speculation.
We are in government and we are in governance mode and we have work to do. The people have given us a mandate of 5 years. And so when you hear a lot of the racket, you will think that some election is happening and therefore people are getting ready. I will say to the people of Nevis that they know me and they know that I'm a fierce campaigner. Some have called me the campaigner in chief. They know when the time comes, the big blue machine will roll out because we always do. But until then, let us focus on getting the job done. And when we talk about the job, we must consider that the people of Nevis repose their trust and confidence in me as Premier and in my colleagues who were elected with me, the Honourable Spencer Brand and the Honourable Eric Evelyn, to form government in order to work for them. That is, to work for the people of Nevis. And what does that work entail? It means making the lives of our people easier. It means ensuring that our people have an environment where they can grow and prosper. It means ensuring jobs, training, education, healthcare. It means better infrastructure. It means attracting investors to our shores. It means growing the economy, paying down our debt, making sure that we leave this island better off, not worse off, for our being here. And that is exactly what we're trying to do.
Speculations of an early election have been circulating in recent weeks, fueled by opposition claims that the administration is losing public confidence. However, the Premier denied these claims, emphasizing that the current term still has ample time remaining.
We are now just about 2.5 years or so into that term. It means, therefore, on my calculation, that the 5-year marker will come in December of 2027. We are now in September 2025. And then we know that the drop dead date for an election is 3 months after the first sitting of Parliament. I'm advised that the first sitting of Parliament was in February of 2023. And it therefore means that the drop dead date for elections should be, if you add 3 months to February, March, April, May, we're talking about May of 2028. The reason I want to lay that out is I want to say to a lot of those who are perpetually beating the drums of politics and political division and tension in the country, you can settle down. There's no election that is around any corner.
The Concerned Citizens Movement administration was entrusted to return to office in 2022, shortly after the island endured the heights of the COVID-19 pandemic. According to Brantley, his party campaigned on the premise that they had managed the island well through the pandemic and should be rewarded again.
I got into government as the Premier of Nevis in December of 2017. And I believe that things were looking up. By 2019, and I remember the budget debates of 2018, December, going into 2019, my team and I were very, very bullish. We felt that this was our time, this was Nevis's time. However, by early 2020, all of that had been dashed when we had the COVID-19 pandemic. And for the next 2 years, the country was essentially shut down. Our hotels shuttered, tourism shuttered, our ports shuttered, and our people struggling. We then started to come out of COVID in 2022, but we knew that there were lingering effects. People were behind on their mortgages, behind on their payments. People are having real difficulties on this island. And so it has taken us a while to claw our way out. And that was where we were when we went to the polls in 2022, December, and asked our people to renew our mandate. And at the time, we said that we had managed the COVID pandemic extremely well. And we wanted our people to reward sober, sensible, mature leadership. And they did. And they gave us and myself a second term as Premier. They gave the CCM a third term in office.
A heated dispute between the administration and the opposition Nevis Reformation Party over the plans to establish a special sustainability zone on the island has been a key driver of recent political tensions, garnering public outrage and much speculation of an early election for Nevis.
An investigation is underway in connection with 2 illegal firearms the authorities found on September 9th, 2025. During a search of a yard in Sadler's St. Kitts, officers found a MAC-10 with 1 magazine and 5 rounds of .380mm ammunition in a bag. The second firearm was found in another bag along with 2 magazines, one with 6 rounds of .45mm ammunition, the other empty, and 15 additional rounds of .45mm ammunition. Anyone with information on these finds is asked to contact the nearest police station or call the Crime Stoppers hotline at 707. John Wilkin of Nisbet Settlement, Nevis, was arrested and charged for cannabis-related offences, according to the police. The authorities shared that on September 9th, 2025, Wilkin was arrested and charged at the Charlestown Police Station with the offences of cultivation of cannabis and possession of cannabis with intent to supply. In regional news, international observers want more independent Guyana Election Commission. News source Guyana reports.
International observers of the recently concluded elections have found that the decision-making at the level of the Guyana Elections Commission remains heavily influenced by politicians, thereby diminishing the public's trust in the institution. The European Union, the Carter Center, the Commonwealth Secretariat, the Caribbean Community CARICOM, and the Organization of American States Election Observer Missions, while acknowledging the smooth conduct of the elections, highlighted urgent need for the Elections Commission to be reformed. Chief Observer for the European Union's Election Observer Mission, Robert Bedron, said GCOM's structure and decision-making remain heavily influenced by political divisions, with the commissioners often sharing conflicting information, thereby compromising an already reduced trust in the institution.
The Guyana Elections Commission, GCOM, managed the elections efficiently. However, its decision-making remains heavily influenced by political polarization, which undermine public confidence. Commission members often express conflicting stances in public, which further compromise trust in the institution.
Leader of the Carter Center Election Observer Mission, Jason Carter, said unfortunately the Constitution of Guyana does not explicitly establish the 7-member Elections Commission as an independent body, and the Carter Price formula, which is used to compose the commission, is now outdated. Based on that formula, 3 commissioners are nominated by the government, while 3 are nominated by the opposition, and the chairman is appointed by the president from a list of nominees submitted by the leader of the opposition. Mr. Carter said those commissioners have been closely aligned with Guyana's 2 historically dominant, ethnically based political parties.
There is a mechanism now for selecting the GCOM commissioners. They've called that the Carter formula, we have been against the Carter formula for years, making these recommendations. And so there are a number of ways that you can look at international best practices and understand how that election commission itself can be more independent and less partisan. And it can still be a Guyanese solution. And that's really what it requires, is a Guyanese solution.
The Carter Center said in addition to the problems of gridlock, polarization, dominant political party control, the current structure of the Elections Commission excludes smaller parties from the electoral decision-making process. 6 parties contested this year's elections, but the PPP and the APNU are the only parties represented on the Elections Commission. The Carter Center said the situation leaves other parties without equal access to information about the electoral process and no voice in decisions affecting the process. It said the structure of GCOM contributes to the lack of trust among some of the political parties and the broad public. Meanwhile, the chief of mission for the CARICOM Observer Team, Chief Election Officer of Belize, Josephine Tamay, said independent commissioners need to be appointed.
I'm certain that when it comes to the commission, that it should only be political parties involved. Because at some point in time, some of those political parties don't exist anymore. And so you would want to have independent organizations being a part of the commission, because the complaint has always been that when it's basically the 2 major political parties, then that is where representation stems and the other parties don't really have a voice. And so I don't believe that we should just limit it to political parties.
The CARICOM chief of mission said independent organizations should be represented on the commission, in addition to political parties, and the appointment for all commissioners should be time-bound. The Commonwealth and OAS observer missions also expressed similar concerns, with the Commonwealth stating that the present composition of GCOM prohibits the Elections Commission's ability to effectively operate and excludes important stakeholders from deliberations and decision-making. Similar concerns and recommendations were put forward following the 2020 elections, but many of those recommendations remain without action.
Export St. Lucia defends $738,000 World Expo investment. TBS St. Lucia has that story.
Amid some backlash over the expenses and benefits attached to St. Lucia's participation at the World Expo in Osaka, Japan, Export St. Lucia has spoken up to clear the air. During a press briefing, Director of Client Management Glenfield Gilbert stated that the creatives who participated felt disheartened over what was being said in the media.
They had to travel, probably, I think, one of the legs was 13 to 16 hours. And then when they actually get to Japan, they had to perform, I think, the next day or one day. They had one more rehearsal before. And there was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in that.
While Expo Japan covered most of the expenses for the event, Gilbert says the Expo only agreed to fund a specific number of creatives. To ensure St. Lucia's culture was adequately represented, Export St. Lucia made the decision to match Japan's contribution, bringing the total number of creatives attending to 30. Thus, the government, through Export St. Lucia, provided $738,559, mainly to cover the cost of airfare for creatives and to outfit the St. Lucia Pavilion. For the creatives funded by Expo Japan, the airfare was $4,000 per person, as their route took them through the United Kingdom and Dubai. In contrast, the creatives funded by the government traveled through Canada, and their tickets cost roughly $2,000 each. In addition, Export St. Lucia's CEO, Sunita Daniel, mentioned that while Expo Japan covered most of the cost for government ministers and official delegations, some attendees paid for their own travel.
So that would include taking care of the creatives, taking care of our PR material, or the costs associated with Expo Osaka. The complete cost of participating in such an expo is well over $3 million.
Daniel argues that participating in expos yield benefits that far exceed the financial cost. She noted that St. Lucia's involvement in Expo Dubai 2022 helped establish the first trade relationship with the UAE, particularly in the export of CMOS. Additionally, artists who performed there secured international bookings. Also, a local designer, Anselm Mathre, will be participating in New York Fashion Week through a connection made at Expo Dubai. Daniel adds that St. Lucia has good leads for business and investment stemming from both expos. Export St. Lucia has already identified routes to Japan for trade in case some deals are established. Furthermore, it was announced that St. Lucia will be participating in Expo 2027 Belgrade. For the DBS News World, Miriam Montoot reporting.
We now bring you these international reports.
About 300 South Korean workers detained during a sweeping U.S. immigration raid are finally heading home. In South Korea, public backlash has been swift, with 60% of respondents to a poll saying they disapprove of how the deportations were handled.
They dragged away workers in handcuffs and chains. This is a clear violation of human rights and also violates international human rights standards.
The raid, targeting a joint venture between Hyundai Motor Group and LG Energy Solution, was Homeland Security's largest ever operation on a single site.
The incident is raising major concern among South Korean companies which have committed $350 billion to U.S. investments like the facility raided in Georgia.
Concerns echoed by the government, which has been pledging further investment.
From the perspective of companies, they will be concerned about disadvantageous treatment or facing difficulties when they're building factories in the United States. That could probably have a significant impact on direct investment in the U.S. in the future.
President Lee also urged Washington to loosen restrictions on work visas, which analysts say have become tougher as the U.S. prioritizes domestic hiring.
It is virtually impossible to set up facilities in the United States without some Korean supervision and some Korean technical personnel. And Koreans have a lot of trouble getting correct visas.
In Seoul, outrage over the deportations has crossed party lines in the National Assembly. Some politicians are calling for retaliatory measures, including the deportation of U.S. citizens working in Korea on inappropriate visas. Jack Barton, Al Jazeera, Seoul.
Robert Jordan is a former U.S. ambassador to Saudi Arabia. He joins us now from Dallas in Texas. Thank you so much for joining us, Robert. What's your assessment of the regional reaction thus far? OK, vehement condemnation, sure, but what can they do materially here as well? You know what? These words would be empty unless they can bring real pressure onto Israel, on Benjamin Netanyahu in particular, and of course, Donald Trump.
Yes, it has two components to it. One is the pressure within the region, and the other is the pressure on the United States. Clearly, President Trump has given Netanyahu a blank check to pursue whenever and wherever he wishes his retribution against Hamas. I think this has backfired somewhat. The region, I think, is now gathering itself collectively, putting pressure on the UAE to either pause or withdraw from participation in the Abraham Accords. I think the UAE is also keen to pursue this course perhaps on their own. The events have brought the Gulf Cooperation Council and the Gulf states together in a way that few other actions could have. None of this is to the benefit of Israel or the United States. I think we're going to see the potential for leverage against Israel, for further isolation, and especially, I think, the Saudis, now that Mohammed bin Salman is getting involved, we may well see his understanding that none of this is good for his Vision 2030, for the entire Gulf region's interest in economic development and moving forward. And so they're going to have to take some concrete action here, which will probably involve some sort of sanctions, perhaps going to the UN Security Council. It will be something they'll have to determine, but there are some options on the table.
Robert, does not this change the entire calculus of America being a trusted ally for the Gulf states?
It certainly makes it troubling, I think, to the Gulf state members. They continue to remember 2019 when the oil fields in Abqaiq in Saudi Arabia were attacked, and the United States had no response whatsoever. So they're wondering if they're on their own now, and these actions of the past couple of days give them further pause.
Well, this is it, isn't it? I mean, let's say you were talking about the UAE. Should Abu Dhabi be now cutting diplomatic relations with Tel Aviv? Would that send the correct message?
Well, I think that may be one step beyond where they might start. I think I would start by recalling the ambassadors to further consultations, making it clear that any repeat of this action would cross a further red line, and certainly attempting to enlist President Trump to make good on his promise that this would never happen again. He's starting to look kind of toothless in all of this, and I think that's not a good look for the United States.
Well, this is it, isn't it? How does Donald Trump navigate this? He's got a difficult balancing act. Does he have the diplomatic wherewithal to actually make something happen?
Well, that's the big question. So far, he has failed to answer the call. We'll see if he, at least behind closed doors, can persuade Netanyahu. But Netanyahu is playing largely to a domestic audience now, not to the international community, which I think makes it even more difficult to rein him in.
Well, reining him in is one thing, but given the fact that there have been attacks, several attacks take place in different parts of this region by Netanyahu, one has to beg the question here, is he a rational actor to be dealing with?
I think that's a very legitimate question. It strikes me that he's in somewhat of a panic mode. He's failed to gain the return of the hostages. He has failed to have any kind of concrete plan for Gaza. He's talking about annexing the West Bank. All of this is really inevitably going to keep the region in flames, which is the last thing that the rest of the Gulf states wish to see.
U.S. consumer prices posted their biggest jump in 7 months in August, driven by higher housing and food costs. The Consumer Price Index reported by the Labor Department on Thursday showed consumer prices rose 2.9% in the 12 months through August. That's higher than the 2.7% increase in July. However, the data is not expected to prevent a much-anticipated interest rate cut from the Federal Reserve next week, against the backdrop of labor market weakness. The odds of a rate reduction fell slightly following the report, but remain near 90% according to the CME FedWatch tool. The combination of higher inflation and deteriorating labor market conditions could fuel fears of stagflation. August could be the start of a long-anticipated upward trend in inflation, as businesses pass on higher costs from President Donald Trump's sweeping tariffs onto consumers. The Consumer Price Index rose by a larger-than-expected 0.4% last month, the biggest gain since January. It was driven by a jump in the cost of shelter, which includes rents and hotel rooms. Food prices also climbed higher, with the cost of food consumed at home soaring 0.6%. Tariffs have boosted the price of coffee, while the cost of beef has also surged. The pass-through from Trump's tariffs had been gradual, but businesses have now depleted their pre-tariff inventories. Business surveys have for some time been signaling imminent price increases. One economist from Santander U.S. Capital Markets told Reuters that the evidence is overwhelming that more tariff-related inflation is coming, though it may still be several months before it passes through fully.
The FBI have released a picture of a person of interest in the Charlie Kirk killing, and that is what they have posted on their account. Earlier there was a news conference where they told us that they had identified a suspect, they were tracking a suspect, they had tracked him onto campus, they had tracked him off campus, they had recovered an automatic weapon, they had said he was likely to be of college age, and they were going through a few more processes before they said they would release the image to the public, and now they have done that. There will be a closer image, an enhanced image around the face, but they're dressed in black. The image the FBI release of a person of interest in the Charlie Kirk shooting. And of course, we've learned all of those details in terms of the event. We saw the gathering there
at the university in Utah, a huge gathering of students and others around that tented area, the conversations that Charlie Kirk was having in his debate, and then one shot was fired, and eyewitnesses talking about the blood that spurted from his neck. And of course he was taken to hospital, and hours later he was pronounced dead. But the investigation, well, that has been rapid. They've been going through CCTV, they've been going through doorbell images as well, trying to piece together, and they very quickly zoomed in on one individual. And as I say, they gave the details earlier about tracking the individual onto campus. He then went onto the roof of a building, we think about 130 meters from that tented area where Charlie Kirk was sitting answering questions. And as I say, one shot was fired. What we don't know is anything about the person, because we don't know a name, we don't know a motive, and so much of what has been discussed about this, in a sense, has jumped a few stages. And of course the FBI taking it through the logical stages, and the first thing to do is to apprehend the person of interest, and that is why they have released this image. President Trump earlier in the day said he was filled with grief and anger and called the assassination a dark moment for America. He says he will posthumously award Charlie Kirk with a Presidential Medal of Freedom.
You were listening to the WINN FM 98.9 newscast. Our top stories were: ECCB Connects highlights 2025 ECCU Generative AI and Python Summer Camp. St. Kitts Nevis wins first place in both showcase competitions.
Premier Brantley dismisses talks of early election.
2 illegal firearms seized by police. Police charged to John Wilkin for 2 cannabis offenses. International observers want more independent Guyana Election Commission. Export St. Lucia defends $738,000 World Expo investment. Internationally detained Hyundai workers return home. Seoul warns of investment concerns in U.S. Thank you for listening.